G'day there guys, it's Connie here again, coming at you with some more Reddit stories. And don't worry, I am still feeding Marquis. Totally. Anyway, enjoy. Okie dokie, we're on Off My Chest. This one was written by user GoddessXM, and it's titled, My parents ruined my wedding, and I don't think I can get over it. This story was from a while ago guys, but there is a new update, so let's hit it up. My now husband and I got married on Halloween, and I'm not okay with how our day went. We didn't want anything big, just close friends and family, at the courthouse, dressed in costumes. There was supposed to be 12 adults and one child that was on our guest list. Let's start off with the night before. My husband got sick and he took the whole day to recover to be well. The plan was to get my nails done, have my mum French braid my hair, then go home, help him feel better, and pack. When I got to my parents' house, my mum informed me that my two aunts weren't coming, and that she invited my cousin. I didn't want him there, firstly. Second, she told me as my dad was on the way to pick him and my sister up. I love my cousin, but I'm not close with him and he's an alcoholic that everybody enables. My small reception was not dry, and she promised me he wouldn't be a problem. The reception was at my parents' house, so she was busy cleaning. I still need to comb my hair out, and she wanted to surprise me with decorations. Long story short, we were running low on time as it was 9 p.m. and I needed to head home to sleep since our wedding was early in the morning. She doesn't start my hair until after her and my cousin start drinking and smoking. I'm already annoyed. I make it home at midnight and still have to check on hubby and pack. I go to bed at 3 a.m. and have to be up at 5 a.m., but I woke up 30 minutes late. I drive back to her house to get ready and help her get ready. When I get there, everyone is sleeping because after they put up the decorations, they stayed up drinking and smoking. Already running late and stressing because the veil I made myself wouldn't stay, my cousin starts rushing me. My parents start fighting loudly and I'm already exhausted. We make it to the courthouse to get married, and I got a handful of pictures, but everyone else is in like 30 pictures. I got one pic that I liked, and only 10 were taken. We get brunch and only my friends are talking to me and my husband. Everyone else isn't even paying attention to us. My mum keeps saying, I'm a mother-in-law today. My friends had to leave, they let us know in advance, so now it's just my family. My cousin is super drunk, won't stop talking, and no one is listening to me, and the only person that keeps checking on me is my husband. Eventually I get overwhelmed and we check into our hotel and take a nap. 2 to 3 hours later, we head back to the house to give everyone a second chance, but they're clearly more intoxicated and loud. Cuss words are flying. My husband tries to calm me down by telling me to start playing our wedding playlist that we made ourselves. The entire time, my cousin is complaining about the music. He wanted us to play more hardcore rap. Now, I wasn't opposed to song requests and even played some songs he requested, but every song that wasn't his, he complained, asked me to turn it off, or asked why I would play this song. Our first dance was to Can I Have This Dance from High School Musical, and he asked me to turn it off. When we were ready to cut the cake, no one came and took pictures. No one was even in the room with us because my cousin was drunk rapping his hot mess bars. My wedding day didn't feel like my day. I had no say in anything, no one paid attention to us, and I have one picture. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but here I am. I'm crying at 4:32 a.m. on Reddit, no sleep, while my husband sleeps peacefully. I couldn't tell him earlier because we had to get intoxicated just to deal with them, and he already doesn't like my dad, so I didn't want him to say anything in that situation. Oh my god, talk about nightmare weddings. Particularly that cousin. I mean, if Opie didn't want him at the wedding in the first place, then he shouldn't be there, period. Let's go to the comments. I'm so sorry this happened to you. It sounds so difficult and I cannot imagine how hard it must be for you because of your horrible family who are full of themselves. I would suggest you talk to your husband about this, let him know how you feel, and have a good wedding plan once again, but only both because it's not about everyone else. It's the bond between you both. If you want to, you can invite your close friends, have a photographer take some memorable pictures, buy a cake and cut, have a beautiful ride or picnic or day out, whatever suits you both the most. I'm so sorry. There is no rule that you can only have one ceremony. Maybe consider having a do-over ceremony later on for just the two of you. Go someplace fun. Vegas, a park, a beach, camping in the woods, etc. Wow, yeah, totally valid. Sounds like a crap day filled with entitled a-holes, so sorry about that. And also congrats, sounds like you have a good one. His thoughts are with you, your happiness, and how to handle a mess together. That's good foundations for a happy lifetime together. Quote, the only person that keeps checking on me is my husband. Eventually I get overwhelmed and we check into our hotel and take a nap, and my husband tries to calm me down by telling me to start playing our wedding playlist that we made ourselves. What next? Revel in your new married status, indulge in each other, plan a redo day if that would make you happy or a different adventure. The best revenge is success. The best comeback is no mind. My money is your husband having your back when you share these thoughts with him and a shared plan for next steps. Big hugs. I would literally never speak to my family again. Sounds like you're the scapegoat like me. I decided to start setting boundaries with my family, which makes me even more of a black sheep, but I have more peace within myself now. It might be good to seek therapy. It's a good way to process this kind of trash behavior and encouragement to advocate for yourself. I'm sorry this happened. Something similar happened at my wedding and I'm still upset about it. It's been 11 years, but I've taken steps to ensure I will never be in that situation again. Congratulations, dude. I'm sorry it didn't turn out how you dreamed. Yeah, I agree with the comments that a do-over would be a pretty good idea, just with close friends. Let's go to an update. I posted here about how my parents and cousin ruined my wedding and how I didn't know what to do, so here's the update. After posting here, I tried to get some sleep but couldn't and ended up waking my husband. He and I talked and he told me he felt the same way. I cried all morning until he made me lay down to finally sleep. I maybe got 3 hours of sleep before waking up in incredible pain and feeling nauseous. We checked out of our hotel early and went to the hospital. I had the same sickness he had the day before our wedding. We went back to my parents' house so I could get some real sleep before making the drive home. We did not talk to my parents about it. After talking to our friends, we decided that we would redo the pictures next Wednesday and have a mini party to celebrate. My husband told me to feel my feelings, but not to worry about it because he would fix it. I trust that he will. What I hadn't mentioned in my previous post was that this was my first wedding, and we were having another one next year for everyone to come to, which is why it hurt so much to have my mum do that to me. Neither one of us are particularly close with our families, but to not have drama, we decided to have a smaller, intimate one this year and the bigger, more extravagant one next year. After what happened with this wedding, we both made the decision that my mum would never have the opportunity to do this to me again, and she will have no say-so in the next one. We did eventually talk to my mum about her actions, and it went about as expected. She made herself to be the victim and made me out to be the bad guy. She used my aunt's passing as an excuse to invite my cousin. She also told me that she asked if he could come, but doesn't see that she gave me no way to say no. She doesn't understand how she ruined our day. I'm sorry you feel like I ruined your day was the apology I received. Eventually I gave up trying to get her to understand how she ruined it, and the fact that we weren't mad at her, just extremely hurt. I did tell her that there was no way for her to make this up to me, and apparently that was the wrong thing to say. I grey-rocked her until she got off the phone and cried into my husband's chest until he made me laugh. As for going no contact or low contact with my parents, I was already low contact with my dad for things in the past, and I'm currently low contact with my mum, but she doesn't get that. She's called me 20 times today alone, and I haven't answered once. I'm working on processing things that happened in childhood, but I can't get over the fact that they're my parents. I know with everything that has happened, not even just my wedding, that I should be no contact with them. For some reason my heart won't let me. Low contact for now. We appreciate the comments you guys left, and he really enjoyed reading that he's doing a good job. I really did pick a good one, and even though our wedding day wasn't what we wanted, I did marry the love of my life. He continues to prove that to me daily, and I've never been happier. Unless something of more significance happens, this will be the only update. Thank you again, and I hope you all enjoyed your Halloween. One comment adds, I saw that first post and commented, I understand your pain and the hard place your mother always puts you in. It's a never-win situation. You might want to read The Borderline Mother. It's long and textbook-like, but it really helped me process my situation. I would do it on audiobook in increments. It's a lot. It really helped me though, and I think it might be helpful for you too. I couldn't do no contact either because they know how to drill guilt into us like it's their freaking oxygen. I'm very low contact now, and the guilt isn't so bad, and I have more peace in my life. I wish the same for you. Your big celebration is going to be magical. Opie replies, when my husband and I started dating, he helped me start to realize how much guilt she's drilled into me, and this was the first time in my life that I didn't allow it to work. It hurts because I've always put her feelings before my own, but I'm a wife and plan to have kids and I can't keep doing that. He's helping me, and as much as it hurts, I want better for our kids. Okay folks, and let's go to that new update. Hi, I saw my story on TikTok the other day. My husband actually sent it to me. He told me I should give you all an update, so here it is. We're not having a second wedding. We might have a party, but we're definitely just going to go on a trip somewhere. We decided that we shouldn't feel obligated to do another one for the sake of others, nor should we give my mother the chance to do this again. Also, to the people on TikTok, I'm 21, non-binary, and black. My husband is 22 and black. Someone said my family was Mexican coded, and I thought I should clear up my age. Also, just because I love High School Musical, it doesn't make me white. Ever since I heard Can I Have This Dance, I knew that was going to be my first dance. Contrary to popular belief, I do have a backbone. What was I supposed to do? My dad already picked up my cousin by the time my mum told me she invited him, and no matter how loud I yelled, none of them were listening to me. I feel like some of y'all have never had to contemplate going no contact with a parent, let alone a black mother. The level of guilt and grief when we realize you have to for your sake, I wish that on no one. Also, my husband and family get along well until our wedding. Whoever was invited was because we both wanted them there. He felt like the day wasn't about us as well. He doesn't like my dad, and I don't like my dad. The only reason he was there was it's his house and he's married to my mum. We are extremely low contact with my parents. We haven't talked since I got my non-apology. That's the level I'm comfortable keeping it at. I'm standing on my boundaries for the first time in my life. I would like to say I posted the original on Off My Chest for a reason. It was bothering me and I needed to vent somewhere. I frankly don't care what people think. To those of you who left comments about your experiences or tried to help me with understanding my parents by offering me books to read, thank you. To those who said my husband will get sick of dealing with my parents and leave me, he's been with me 3 years before we got married and has done nothing but reassure me. He's been with me when I've cried over my relationship with my father, and he's still here as I'm coming to terms with my mother. I have a truly great man, and I'm nothing but thankful for him. Edit to add, the reason I didn't hire a photographer was because my mum is the picture taker of the family. We had an agreement that she would take pictures for me. I wasn't expecting it to go like that. As for new pictures, we did hire a photographer, and we'll be taking pictures in early December. The small get-together with friends was exactly what we wanted it to be. Okay guys, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, pretty good update there. It's interesting to hear that they didn't feel the need to have another big ceremony like they were planning to before. I guess things like that can hold as little or as much weight as you choose them to. Let's read some final comments. The wedding and reception sound like it came straight out of my Sims gameplays. It's like trying to wrangle a bunch of cats. I remember when I got married, I had several family members offer to provide services for the wedding. I told them all no. I love them, but they're not the dependable sort. The day was too important to me, and I didn't want to walk away hating anyone because they ruined the day by not taking it seriously. Best choice I could have made. I'd rather have no parents than have parents who are terrible and idiots. It must be hard for OP having to go into low contact with her family, but in the end, she's lucky to have a supportive husband. Yeah, absolutely. You win some, you lose some. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that one, guys. Let me know down in the comments. Anyway, let's move on to another story. Okay, jumping over to Am I the A-hole, and sticking with the wedding theme, this one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for not telling my parents that the event they were missing was my wedding? Buckle up guys, this will be kinda long. So I, 27 female, have a younger brother, Mike, 21. He is the definition of a man-child and a mama's boy, always complaining, always expecting others to bow to him, just overall an a-hole. Ever since he was born, my parents fussed over him for everything. He's not special needs or had a traumatic birth or anything of the sort. He was just born. And my parents completely discarded me. My mum, 50, especially. She went from a loving mother to one of those boy mums that people make fun of on the internet. My father, 50, still showed me love and support, but he's always been too much of a coward to stand up to my mother and let me win at least once. The only one who stood for me was my grandpa, 76, who always called my parents out on their bullcrap, and never liked my brother. I remind him of his late wife, my grandma, and we have a very special bond, but he lives on the other side of the country and I can never see him often. Mike knows our mum prefers him and loves to shove it in my face. Because of this and his behaviour, we've always been at odds. He's spoiled, a brat, and an awful human. I can't remember how many times I ended up in trouble for things I did better than him, or for things he framed me with. His only talent are his football skills. He won a scholarship to a nice college out of state. My parents didn't spend a dime on my education because apparently my fund had been used to cover expenses after a fire, just for me to discover years later that said money was given to Mike to buy a car and a house. It's at public university that I met Lucas. He was the first person I was really drawn to there. Of course, I met new people who are now my dearest friends, and thanks to them and Lucas, who was my best friend for years before we got together, I managed to move out of my parents' house. Now both Lucas and I are well known in our fields and have very good salaries. Now to the main issue. Lucas proposed to me a year ago. We're very private people, so we didn't post it on social media or anything. And when I told my parents, they dismissed it with a, "That's nice." I'm starting to think they downright didn't listen to me at all. We decided that we wanted a nice but simple ceremony and reception with our friends and relatives. Lucas convinced me to invite my parents and brother, but they never responded to the invite, and whenever I went to visit and began to talk about my wedding, without mentioning it was a wedding, my mum would always speak over me and about my brother's accomplishments and wild adventures. At one point I got fed up with it and interrupted my mum to tell her that there was an event I was planning to organise whose date was unmovable. She told me that they couldn't attend because my brother was playing the last game of the season that very same day and wanted them to be there. Of course, this favouritism didn't surprise me. They missed my ballets, shows, and both my high school and university graduation for things about him. At this point, I wanted to be petty. I told both my parents that it wasn't a problem to miss this event, purposefully omitted the fact that this event was my wedding, and didn't insist further. Flash forward to a few weeks ago. I got married. It was perfect. My family, Lucas's family, and our friends were all there, and we had a blast. My grandpa was happy to give me away, and it was just perfect. My relatives asked me multiple times why my parents weren't there with us. I was honest and simply said that they had my brother's game to attend and couldn't come. They gave me a few looks, and my grandpa was visibly angry for a while, but otherwise nothing strange happened. After the reception, Lucas and I left for our honeymoon and were phone-free for the whole duration of the trip. But once we got back, we discovered that a crap storm was welcoming us home. I turned my phone on and was unable to even unlock it before a storm of notifications popped up. Most of them were from my mother and brother. Mike called me all sorts of nasty names and insulted me because apparently one of my paternal aunts posted the photos of the wedding on Facebook and captioned it with a very obvious dig at my parents, especially my mum, for missing the wedding. The post apparently went viral in my parents' community, and they've been publicly shamed for their mistreatment of me. It also turns out that my grandpa personally visited my parents to go on a tirade to shame my father, his son, to the point of tears. And this seemed to be my father's breaking point, because he was so distraught for missing his only daughter's wedding and for his father's disapproval that he finally rebelled against my mum and is threatening divorce unless she makes it up to me. I think that's the reason why my mum has been spamming my phone with messages, At first insulting and threatening, and then downright pitiful, full of begging and pity parties. Now I'm at home with my husband, deciding how to approach the situation. Most of my relatives, even those I didn't invite to the wedding, reached out to apologise for what I went through and to claim they had no idea this was happening at home. I can't blame any of my relatives. They all live with my grandpa on the other side of the country or in another state. But my mum's sisters and friends are belittling me for not telling my mum about the wedding, because now she's inconsolable at the thought of having missed my wedding. Personally, I think she just claims that to save face, but I'm not sure. The latest messages from my father and mother seem extremely saddened and hurt for missing my wedding. Now my family is divided on 3 fronts. The majority who is sticking by my side, my maternal aunts shaming me for hurting my mum's feelings, and my maternal grandparents who are adamant that I forgive my mum in light of her atonement. My best friends are telling me not to listen to them. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Oh wow, yeah, I mean obviously it was never going to be pretty doing that, but it's a pretty amazing way to stick it up to 'em. Not the a-hole for me. Opie told them that she was getting married and they didn't care. Let's check out some of the comments. Not the a-hole. Actions have consequences. Mike is the golden child to the point of things being dysfunctional. You have created your life accordingly based on what they've done. Your mum controlling everything and your dad enabling her. And now they're unhappy because they've been shamed for it. Too right. I am however pleased your dad might be waking up. Please give a hug or high five to Mr. Grandpa from me, depending on what kind of guy he is, for the star that he is. You go and live your best life where people value you. Also, congratulations to both of you and your husband. You've done absolutely nothing wrong. Not the a-hole. They were invited. They gave a reason they weren't attending. You accepted their non-participation. A commenter replies, right, they were sent an invitation. When I get invitations, they're hung on the refrigerator as a reminder, and I have the decency to respond. The parents deserve everything they get. Opie needs to tell the sisters the truth. The mum is spinning it to make it sound like they were shunned by their daughter. Not the a-hole. I cannot comprehend this. Just go no contact. Honestly, after all these years, what did you expect will happen differently? Someone replies, any kids they have will also be ignored and treated like their toe jam also. They have had years to atone, and neither of them did. Dad is no better. Even worse if he realised how wrong it was, but still quietly sat down and let it happen. Not the a-hole. I'd be incredibly petty and just no contact your parents and your mum's family. See how they like being ignored. However you handle it, congratulations to yourself and Lucas. May you always have happiness in each other. Yes, and what atonement is the mother supposed to do? Unless she can travel back in time and attend Opie's wedding and graduations, there really is no way to atone. I'd keep the whole lot no contact. They don't add anything positive to her life. I would also inform everyone about what happened to your college fund. Oh yeah, the college fund, I forgot about that. Just a long list of neglect. Opie makes an edit. Thank you so much for the feedback and love, it's overwhelming. I'm going to address the popular questions here. 1. I did inform my parents about the wedding. I sent traditional on-paper invites to all my guests and was notified that all invites had reached their addresses. I did not receive any answer from my parents and Mike, a few very distant relatives and some people on Lucas's side. I did reach out to all of them though through message to double check, and those who hadn't replied told me they couldn't come. I asked my parents and brother via text, but they didn't respond. I was left on red. Knowing them and given all the things I had to plan, I didn't bother insisting. 2. I didn't repeat the date of my wedding because I'd already been told there was my brother's game. Plus, every time I insisted on highlighting my celebrations to get an answer, I was always told that it wasn't that important and to not be picky and a bother, because some things were simply more important than me. At this point, I think it's fair for me to not insist anymore. It's not worth the effort. 3. I didn't keep my wedding a secret. I avoided telling my parents that it was my wedding to see if they would be interested in the slightest, but surprise, surprise, they weren't. Despite this, I did openly talk about my wedding with my aunts and uncles. My mother was in the room with us a few times when I discussed venues or dress shops with my aunt, the Facebook post one, but sometimes Mum was on the phone and other times she was just chatting with other people. She never paid attention. When I talked about it during reunions, she smiled and said, "That's great, dear," and then would change the subject. Radio silence on Dad and Mike. 4. I kept in contact with them because, well, all the times I tried to go no contact in the past years I've been harassed. I tried after my high school, bachelor's and master's graduations, to which they never bothered to show up for reasons involving my brother. Every time I was shamed for daring to turn my back on family by my parents, my brother, my maternal aunts and my maternal grandparents. I think the turning point here is that all of those times, Lucas wasn't by my side. We started dating a little after my last attempt at going no contact, and now that I have him here, I feel more confident in my stance. But before that, I wasn't this confident. As I already stated, all the paternal side lives on the other side of the country and wasn't aware of how they treated me. I did try to expose my parents once at 14. My aunts, uncles and grandpa reprimanded them. They faked being sorry, and then once home I got the beating and gaslighting of my life for lying. After that, I kept in contact regularly with my paternal side, but omitting my parents' abuse out of fear, which to be honest still haunts me to this day. Only Grandpa knew, but he was always threatened to be alienated from me if he tried anything. 5. My parents and I are not from the same city. I live in a city an hour drive from my parents' small town, and they don't know my new address because once my brother tried to break into my apartment to steal some cash, and my mother backed him up, claiming that siblings share their goods. Now I'm moved and I'll be sure not to tell them where I live. And 6, my parents didn't buy my brother a car and a house before he even started high school. They bought him a car for his 16th birthday and a house near his college when he began freshman year. They didn't spend the money on my fund right away. They just lied to me to use it later for my brother, keeping it stored for later in the meantime. Oh my god, the more I read, the more I hate all these people. Obviously not OP and Grandpa, they're G's. Let's go to some more comments. Do you think it would have been different if they knew it was a wedding and not just an event? Opie replies, "Well, I'm pretty certain my parents would have been a handful at my wedding anyway. They did ruin a cousin's wedding by making it all about how my brother had just given his first university exam and he got drunk and trashed part of the cake. So I'm wondering what made me want to add them to the guest list in the first place. But then again, in my family, going no contact or even low contact is considered shameful. The cousin whose wedding Mike trashed cut my family off, and they've been dragged for turning their back on family after a minor incident." Opie comments on her father missing her wedding and why it was a big deal for him. "Well, giving daughters away is a big deal on my father's side of the family. He only has me, and has made it a big deal since birth, despite how he treated me. Appearances, that's what matters. Make of this whatever you wish to make it." Yeah, appearances, that's exactly right. It's that surface level for this family, it sounds like. Okay, on to an update. First of all, I want to thank all of those who were interested in my story, and those who wished me and my husband a happy life. I'm beyond grateful for your reassuring messages, and your love and feedback. The response was overwhelming and beyond what I ever thought it could be. I love you all so much. To those who believed my story was fake, I want to say that I'm happy your family life is better than mine, to the point of thinking of my reality as a fantasy, but I'd appreciate it if you stopped harassing me in DMs, claiming that I'm writing a fake story for attention. If I've missed a few details in the OG post, it's because I was overwhelmed and crying my eyes out because of my family's harassment. You're not forced to read my story, or think it's true, but I think keeping the smallest amount of decency would be nice. Oh, and before diving into the update, let me clarify a few things. 1. Yes, the invitation specifically stated it was a wedding. No excuses. 2. My maternal side of the family didn't come to the wedding. I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear in the OG post. Most of them were busy, and the others just gave me excuses to send a gift but not come. That's it. Don't ask me why they didn't discuss my wedding with my mum. It's not like I live in their brain. And 3. My mother's atonement is the fact that she apologized via text. My god. Now onto the update. Things have been a little crazy this past week. I got off of Reddit for a couple of days to gather my thoughts. Then I had a lengthy conversation with Lucas about how to proceed. He's been my rock, and I don't think I could ever love him more than I already do. My parents were always a taboo topic, but he hit me with a brutal reality check that I absolutely needed. We reached the conclusion that the fact I kept in contact all this time, stuck around and couldn't go no contact, isn't healthy. I've realized that. The reason I never fully went no contact was that deep down I just wanted their approval, even now, for once. Pathetic, I know, but it's like a drug, being with my parents. They can be loving, funny, caring and warm, until they're not. The little love they give you makes you crave for more, and you want their approval so badly you destroy yourself. But that's enough. I promised myself that things are going to change. I've thought about it and decided to start therapy and to go no contact with all of those who made an issue about this situation, for good this time. After the days dedicated on reflecting on how I feel, I ended up messaging my father to tell him that if he wanted to talk, I would meet him, Mum and Mike in a neutral location the following day. He immediately replied and agreed, and we met at the park. My father's sisters and brother accompanied us for damage control. My father looked distraught and as if he'd been crying for a while. My mum looked the same, but I think it was more out of anger and embarrassment. My brother looked annoyed. I told the three of them about how their behaviour and preference in regards of my brother always hurt me, and that their abusive behaviour made me realise that I didn't want contact with any of them again after that meeting. My mother tried to cut me off multiple times, but my aunt, the one who posted on Facebook, shut her up every single time. When I asked them why would they treat me this way, they didn't know what to say. My father kept crying and apologising without giving me an answer, and my uncle reprimanded him for it. My mother seemed as if she was asking herself that for the first time, but well, in the end, she just said that she simply disliked me, plain and simple. And my brother? He just liked the attention and making me miserable as some kind of sport. I went on with my questions. When I asked why they never responded to my invite, they claimed to have never received one. I showed them the texts, but they denied receiving them. And well, it turns out that they hadn't, in fact, received my wedding invitation. When it arrived to their house, they weren't there. The only one in the house was my brother, who had come visiting for the weekend. He saw the invite and, as many of you guessed, ripped it up and trashed it. And then, when I texted my parents, he deleted the messages. It wasn't hard to do. According to him, they kept my chat archived and didn't get the notification. So, my parents never actually got a formal invitation. I was just distraught. I asked Mike why would he do that, and he just shrugged and claimed that it wasn't as important as the stuff they had in program anyway. I had to stop Lucas from punching him in the face. Strangely enough, my parents were upset and started reprimanding him. He actually began to throw a tantrum and cry crocodile tears, and I must admit that I was kind of satisfied. But then my mum claimed that all was resolved, and there was no need to fuss over a misunderstanding, and it was time for me to clear their name. That set me off, and I interrupted her, telling her that they weren't forgiven at all, that just because Mike trashed the invite, it didn't mean it automatically cancelled all their neglect out. Plus, all that time it was still very obvious that I was having a wedding and they should have asked about it. You want to know my mother's response? She said something along the lines of, "I did hear you talking about a wedding of yours, but I just thought you were being delusional and seeking my attention with exaggerated scenarios." She was convinced Lucas didn't actually like me, nor would ever marry me. When I tell you I was about to trash her face, do you believe me? Another thing came up. It turns out that my brother didn't have a football game to go to at all. My parents used the fact that my husband, friends and I know little to nothing about football. We prefer soccer, and the fact I stopped asking about it when Mike would mock me during his time in school to make up a story to avoid my event. At the time I wrote the OG post, I couldn't confirm or deny the presence of a game because my brother has private social media and Lucas and I are blocked, and I foolishly trusted my parents' word. But no, you want to know where they went with that man-child? They went to Disneyland because Mike wanted to go. They used the football story to cover for my brother's 100th tantrum holiday, and apparently they did it multiple times in the past months. At that point, I was just completely burnt out and overwhelmed by this amount of information. The fact that I'd been fooled this badly, that I was so gullible, genuinely made my blood boil, and I snapped. I stood up and told my father he was a sad, weak man, unable to stand up for his kids unless his wife approved of it. I told my brother that he was a little dip crap, a poor excuse of a man that will not accomplish anything in his life, and that he'll always live like the leech he is, babied to the point of uselessness. And to my mum, I told her that she was the worst, narcissist, pathetic little woman on the earth, that she didn't even deserve to be addressed and judged for her irrelevance, that not even God could help her out because she is just too rotten. Harsh, I know. My mother shot up from her seat to scream at me halfway through my rant to her, but I was just too mad. I shouted at her to shut the F up and sit down and listen for once. She got so mad it felt like steam was coming out of her ears. I don't remember much after that, just that I kept talking and talking. It felt as if all my anger and hurt just flooded out. At one point, I'm pretty sure the whole park was silent. I spat at my parents and Mike that I was disowning them all, and that if they're smart, they'll think before reaching out again. I took my purse and left with Lucas, Anna, and Francis, leaving my parents and brother at my aunt's and uncle's mercy. I think at some point the reality of what I just learned and said finally hit me, because I ended up having a panic attack on the way home. Lucas was driving, so Anna helped me through it until we stopped in a parking lot to calm me down. I'm beyond grateful for their help. Once home, I just fell on the bed and went to sleep. I really wanted to go with your guys' advice and post the whole thread on Facebook, but given my work and career, I couldn't expose myself like that. One thing is sharing my story from an anonymous throwaway on Reddit, the other is on Facebook with my name and face plastered everywhere. I couldn't go down that path. Instead, I did something better. I made a folder with all of my mother's insults, messages, and awful comments, and sent it to the woman in charge of my mum's church. It's a tight-knit community my mum worked her ass off to enter in, but that is also extremely judgmental, and being shunned by them is a death sentence. And well, that's exactly what happened. Just like clockwork, the scandal spread like wildfire, going out of the church and reaching the rest of the small town. You can imagine what this means for my mother and father. Because of my little spill, I did find other messages from my maternal side of the family belittling me even more for upsetting their sister or daughter and insulting her. I just didn't care anymore at that point, so I followed your guys' advice and told them that from now on, they will no longer be part of my life, and that they can talk crap all they want, I just won't care. Instead, they should be grateful I don't send their nasty texts to their employers and spouses. I blocked every single one of them, grandparents included, on everything. I did find a lengthy message from my father. He apologized for not being strong enough to face my mother, agreed that what I said was true, and couldn't believe that he'd lost so much of my life because of her. He told me he is going to divorce her no matter what my decision will be, because he is tired of being controlled. He would like a relationship with me to make up for all the years that passed. I did reply to him, to tell him that as of now I really don't want to see him or forgive him. He has replied that he'll try his best to win me back, and that he loves me. I replied that, as of now, I find that hard to believe, and then blocked him too. Frankly, his slimy way of trying to have an out from this situation by throwing my mother under the bus is pathetic. At least she was hateful and owned up to it. He is only to blame others for his choices. I don't want to surround myself with people like that. My mother and brother are blocked similarly to my maternal side. Mike wrote other messages to taunt and insult me, and I just blocked him. My mum threw herself a pity party for being shunned by her community and for her marriage going into shambles, and I just replied, good riddance, before blocking her too. As for my grandpa, he has decided to stay with us for a while, to stick by my side. He really is the best, and has read some of your comments. He isn't going to admit that he's flattered by them. Since then, a few days have passed and all has been quiet. Lucas is spoiling me rotten, and I'm starting therapy soon. I know this isn't the drama-filled, revengeful update you hoped for, but well, this is it. I'll let you know if anything changes or evolves. Thank you so much for the love and support you showed me. I think I'm going to log out now. As for now, goodbye. Holy moly, drama-filled update? What do you mean it's not a drama-filled update? That was full of drama. I mean, that whole park confrontation, I could just see it so vividly, and I found myself getting mad with OP as I was reading it. What about you guys? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, we're going to leave that one there. That's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.